What's good, everybody? Welcome to Outside the Playbook. I am going to be talking about why Michael Jordan is my selection for greatest of all time. I'm not going to be explaining why LeBron is not, why Kobe is not, why Kareem is not, because I don't have to tear down anybody else's legacy. Give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, click the link down below in the description to get discounts on brands like Fanatics, Dad Gang, Dubby. Let's get to it.
Everybody wants to know what I would do if I didn't win. I guess we'll never know.
Now, I already know what you did. See, you ran straight to the comments section and you wanted to remind everybody that Michael didn't win anything without Scotty. Now, listen, we already know that. Well aware, didn't win a playoff series, didn't reach a conference finals, didn't win an NBA championship. That is a fact. Well aware of it. But see, there's two responses I have to that argument. But before we get to that, there's a number of things we're going to address as far as the things that people say about Michael Jordan not being the greatest of all time. And then I'm going to go into the list of things, the list of reasons why I feel he is the greatest of all time. Like I said, I don't have to talk about LeBron, Kobe, Kareem, Magic, Wilt. I don't have to talk about them in a negative light to prop up Michael Jordan. That's toxic conversation that we don't need to have in this argument. Now, going back to the start of this, where we said Michael Jordan didn't win a thing without Scottie Pippen. That is a fact, but response number one to that is when you say that he didn't win a thing, rings don't really matter in the grand scheme because that's a team achievement. Playoff success is really team success. So what you really want to know is, who is Michael Jordan without Scottie Pippen? That would be year one, where he played a full season, year two, where he missed about 64 games going into the playoffs, and then year three, where he played a full season, because Scottie Pippen was drafted going into Michael Jordan's fourth season. We're not going to talk about that one just yet. So looking at year one, 28, 6 and 6.5, and he's top 6 in MVP, Rookie of the Year. He's an All-Star, NBA second team. And then you look at that following season, broken foot, missed a ton of games, played 18, started 7. He was still voted as an All-Star. But going into that playoffs versus arguably the greatest team of all time, he puts up about 44, 6 and 6. And walking away from that, Larry Bird, who was the best player in the NBA at that time, arguably, says Michael Jordan was actually God disguised as Michael Jordan in that series. Now, going into that following season, you already knew there was going to be a leap. But to say that you saw 37 points, 2.9 steals, 1.5 blocks, 4.5 assists, and 5.2 rebounds, nobody expected that explosion. Second in MVP, top 10 in Defensive Player of the Year, All-Star, and All-NBA first team. That is who Michael Jordan was as an individual without Scottie Pippen. Now, everybody's going to bring up the team success aspect. Here's my response number two. When you look at the fact that going into those playoff series, you're playing the greatest team of all time at that time in the Boston Celtics back-to-back. 6 All-Stars, 5 Hall of Famers, and it's just you. There's no way you're going to have any type of success in that scenario. Now, to go deeper into context, going from year 2 to year 3, the Chicago Bulls removed 7 of the top 11 players in the rotation, 4 of which were averaging between 10 and 22 points per game, while Michael Jordan was out for the majority of that season. That is a big deal. They are trying to tank. They are trying to lose games. They do not want to have success because they want to draft high and build a team around Michael Jordan. While on the other hand, Michael Jordan, who doesn't have a single bone in his body that is going to tell him to try and lose games, was doing everything in his power to succeed, get his team to the playoffs. The organization and Michael Jordan were pulling in two different directions, so much so that the front office threatened to fire Doug Collins on the spot if he played MJ above a certain amount of minutes that they allowed, simply because they wanted to make sure they maintained their high draft position. Now, moving on to the next argument that people like to make. Michael Jordan only beat the Detroit Pistons when they had gotten older. Now, let's look at the flip side. The Detroit Pistons always have the claim that they beat Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and Michael Jordan in the same playoffs. No other team in NBA history can say they did that. Fine, I'll give you that because guess what? It's a fact. Wins and losses are facts in the record books. But to add a little bit more context, Detroit beat the Lakers. Detroit also beat the Boston Celtics. Both of those teams, when they lost to the Detroit Pistons, were older than the Pistons when the Bulls beat them. On top of that, Dennis Rodman was a 4-year player at that time. Joe Dumars, a 5-year player, both of whom are in the Hall of Fame. So you still have 3 Hall of Fame players in the primes of their career playing great basketball. I think that is a valid win in Michael Jordan and Chicago Bulls book. Not one of those situations where they say, you know what, injuries, their time was up. They were the 2-time defending champions, and they got swept in the playoffs by Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. I'm taking that as a win. The next conversation everybody loves to have is competition. Who did you play? When you say this, they want to talk about who did you guard? Who guarded you? There's a number of footage that shows Michael Jordan guarding players like Larry Bird, Dominique Wilkins, Clyde Drexler, Magic Johnson, and vice versa. But when you look at the competition that he faced as teams, you look at the Detroit Pistons, Boston Celtics, 76ers, the Atlanta Hawks, Miami Heat, Orlando Magic, Los Angeles Lakers, Utah Jazz, Sonics, Suns, Blazers, Hornets, Cavs, just to name a few, and majority of those teams had multiple Hall of Famers on their roster. That sounds like competition to me. Let's take a step further. There's a number of 50-win teams that he beat in the playoffs. There's a number of 60-win teams that he beat in the playoffs that I can look at right now. Utah Jazz multiple times. He beat the Orlando Magic and the Supersonics in the playoffs in 1 year. 4 teams that were absolutely difficult to beat, and they made it look easy. Now, we can have conversations about who guarded him, but every single great player is going to go after matchups. Every single great player is going to outshine the person guarding them, be superior. I'm not going to blame any player in any era for who's in front of them. You still have a job to do, and the fact that he was still able to do that at a supremely high level, that's all we can ask from a player, because guess what? You can't pick and choose who you play against. You have to eat the plate that is set in front of you. MJ did just that. The biggest argument against Michael Jordan's claim to being the greatest of all time has been the Defensive Player of the Year. See, analysts have come out with new information saying that the numbers that Michael Jordan had in that season were inflated. Well, guess what? Every single great player has inflated numbers when they play at home. Your response is going to be, well, Michael Jordan's numbers are the highest inflation rate in NBA history. I will concede that point. But I have film. I have footage. I've watched full games. I've watched breakdowns and highlight reels. And one thing you can never argue against is the fact that Michael Jordan was an elite defender. On ball and off ball, he was that more dangerous. Getting into passing lanes, deflections, block shots from the weak side, on ball, moving his feet, cutting people off, making people pick up their dribble, turn, making it difficult for them to get the ball up the court and get it across half court. B-Ball Breakdown went in depth into this concept, but I wholeheartedly agree with the conclusion he came to. Yes, you can make the argument about the numbers, the blocks, the steals, the inflation, and you can also see 100% there were flaws to Michael Jordan's defensive ability, but they were greatly outshined and outweighed by every single thing he brought to that side of the basketball, and he was not afraid to guard anybody at any given time. And guess what? Great players had great games against Mike. Every single great player is going to have great games against another great player. Every single player is going to have a great game against a great defender. It happens. It is the most prestigious basketball league in the entire world. But More often than not, we see Michael Jordan making great plays, making great timely stops, guarding the basketball, and displaying elite defensive prowess. That is the reason why Michael Jordan was voted Defensive Player of the Year that season, along with being the MVP of the league. Now, moving away from that conversation, here's some things that I think make Michael Jordan the greatest of all time. We're going to get to one particular stat at the end of this. Michael Jordan, Hall of Fame, 14-time All-Star, 3-time Steals champ, 11-time All-NBA, Rookie of the Year, All-Star Game MVP, 5-time MVP, 10-time scoring champ, 6-time NBA champ, Rookie of the Year, All-Rookie, 9-time All-Defensive Team, Defensive Player of the Year, and 6-time Finals MVP, NBA 75th Anniversary Team member. For his career, he averaged 30 points, 6.2 rebounds, 5.2 assists, 49.7 from the field, 83.5 from the free throw line, and 32.7 from three. Player efficiency rating, 27.9, 214 win shares. Now, one thing that stands out to me, yes, he has the highest points per game average in NBA history. We know that. But when we look at him as a player, and everybody says how selfish and unwilling to pass the basketball he was, the man averaged 5.3 assists per game. That is 6th all-time at his position, and also he is 6th all-time in total assists at his position. Another stat, everybody loves to talk about Michael Jordan was 6 for 6 in the NBA Finals. That is the end-all be-all. I'm not on that train because guess what? To me, that is not what made Michael the greatest of all time. It's what those 6 mean. See, in the 80s, it was hard for him to get out of the first round. Then it was hard for him to get ahead of the Detroit Pistons. That 6 for 6 in the 90s is what happens when you respond to adversity the way he responded to it. He was getting beat up by the Pistons. Okay, I'm going to get in the weight room. I'm going to get stronger, and I'm going to be more dominant. Okay, now I'm having dominant performances against the bully on the block. Let me get all my guys to rally around this. Scotty, you're going to guard me. You're going to play against me in practice. We're not going to be on the same team. Iron sharpens iron. We come back. We dethrone the Pistons, and now we're running roughshod over the entire 90s. Okay, I'm going to retire, come back, and now we're just going to pick up where we left off. Wait a minute. Orlando Magic have something to say about that. We lose in somewhat embarrassing fashion by Mike's standards. 45 isn't the same as 23. And then 23 returns and we still lose. Okay, I'm going to sit on this, work like crazy throughout the summertime, come back, we're going to go 72-10, and then we're going to sweep the Orlando Magic in dominant fashion, and we're going to win the championship versus another 60-win team in the NBA Finals. Adversity. I'm not so big on perfection. I'm big on how do you respond when the deck is stacked against you. I didn't see him quit. I didn't see him walk away from the game. I didn't see him complain and ask for better players and all this other stuff when he was getting his butt whooped in the 80s. I saw Mike give his absolute all. 63 points versus the Boston Celtics in the playoffs. How defensively great that team was. And you're going to go out swinging like that. That's what I look for. Not just winning all the time, running roughshod over the league, dominant when you're up. No, it's how you respond when you're down low. You're in high school and you get cut from the basketball team, but now you're in the NCAA tournament, championship game. You hit the game winner for one of the most prestigious college programs in history, and then you go on to the NBA where now we're talking about you as one of the greatest of all time. Adversity is what made Mike great. It wasn't perfection. Now, when I look at the field, I think LeBron James has a claim in this argument to be the greatest of all time. I think Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has a say in this conversation, and some would even include Kobe in that. I don't have to tear any of these players down to prop up MJ. I can respect the others, have my choice, and we can still have a great conversation about the game that we love. Give this video a like, subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments, Who is your selection for greatest of all time? That's one more for the good guys.